Guys, Mike here, head trader at True Trading Group. Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. I haven't made a video in a while. The last 2 days for me were the worst travel days probably of my life. I was stuck up in Canada for what was supposed to be a quick up at night, back early in the morning trip. And it turned into like almost a 3-day affair because of a bad snowstorm and ice storm that was up in Toronto. And I had four flights got canceled on me. My other flight the flight I ended up finally getting on was delayed several hours. It was an absolute nightmare. And I didn't have my travel trade set up with me because I was expecting to be back to trade the next day. I was taking like a 6 a.m. flight that morning, so I would have been back and back in front of my desk by 8:30. So I didn't take my travel like stuff with me. So I was kind of I wasn't able to trade for 2 days, and it was frustrating. But I am back here today, and I've just made one trade today. It was in YETI. It was for about $1 a share move. Had a couple thousand shares. It was a nice little trade. And the lesson from today is not necessarily about the technical trade in YETI, more so than it is a mental lesson about your time and your game plan and your analysis. Because coming into the day, I really wasn't focusing on anything other than the SPY and a TVIX trade. We gapped down today. We were gapping up. And then the retail data came out. It was the worst retail data in 9 years, and the market quickly went negative. And I thought that the SPY, I feel the market after this huge bounce that we've had since that December low was looking for any reason to kind of pull itself back in. And you had the 200-day moving average that came into play here. After we overshot it yesterday, you had the 200-day moving average come to play, and I thought maybe that this bad retail data would be a reason enough to sell off the market. Even though I think that retail number is a bit skewed. You had the government shutdown in there. You had the huge stock market sell off in December that spooked the consumer, and the government shutdown and kind of messed with the consumer spending a little bit as well. 800,000 people weren't getting their paychecks, so that's obviously going to affect some things. So even though I felt that the number wasn't really as bad as it actually showed, I thought it was going to be enough for the market to sell off. So when we had gap down today on the SPY, okay, here's your gap down on the SPY. Here's the gap down. I was looking for a TVIX trade to take us down. Okay, I was looking for initially, this 274.50 area, which was Tuesday's high and was resistance all afternoon, and then was the low of the day and was support midday, on the 13th, Wednesday. I was looking for the gap down to quickly push up, retest that area, get denied, and then roll over. And I was going to look for a move to get down to test this gap entry around 272 and change, from the 12th. So that was going to kind of be what I was looking for to have happen. And I was laser focused on this in the morning. I really wasn't focusing on anything else off the open except the SPY and a possible TVIX trade. But you guys can see right off the bell, I was hoping that we were going to try to push up, not sell off. And as soon as we opened up right here and immediately dropped 75, 80 cents on the SPY. Immediately, right off the bell. I was hoping for the exact opposite. I was hoping that people were going to try to come in and buy the initial gap down, which would push it back up, give me that denial at that 274.50 area we talked about, and then roll it over. That's what I was looking for. Didn't happen. We quickly flushed lower off the bell, and then we just started to chop around. We started to bounce around a little bit, put in a big tail at a new low of the day, reversed it, made a new high, churned our way higher, huge. My game plan didn't work. What I thought the market was going to do did not happen. And that was my main focus off the bell. The lesson I want to talk to you about is when this happens, if you have a very specific game plan going into the day, whether it's on the market or on a particular stock, And that game plan does not come to fruition. So whatever you thought was going to happen didn't. So you end up not making a trade because the setup just didn't work. Or maybe you do make the trade and you lost money because it didn't do what you thought it was going to do. Do not just immediately switch your attention to something else that you're looking at for the very first time and then pull the trigger. You need to give yourself the time necessary to properly analyze a setup and develop a game plan. You can't just switch your focus from one thing over to something else that you haven't been looking at all, that you're looking at now for the very first time, make an analysis within seconds, and then pull the trigger. That is how you're going to get caught chasing stocks and buying highs, because you're going to turn your attention away. It would have been very easy for me by 10:15, 10:20 to have said, you know what, my game plan here is not working. You know, the top gainer on the day was IVC. You know what, look at this. You know, we got extension off the open. You know what, it looks like the trade line's holding. I'm going to get long. Okay, and then you get I could have did that, or I could have pulled up solo at the time. Okay, solo time up here, flagging, look like it's going to go, holding VWAP, collapse. Okay, I mean, there was RBZ. Okay, RBZ. Okay, we had a little pull in off the bell. You get a trade line, kicks in, shows you some support. We break above VWAP. Looks like we're holding VWAP. Collapse, rolls itself over. Okay, I could have just went after, what's the top gainer on my list when I realized this SPY trade wasn't working, and I would have gotten caught in some pretty nasty trades because I wouldn't have been giving myself the proper time needed to develop a game plan and analyze the stock. You take the time you need. Draw out your Fibonacci retracement levels. Look at the daily chart. Identify key resistance levels on the daily chart. Check where your major moving averages are. Analyze the volume intraday. Look at a 15-minute chart. See if there's any resistance over the last week or two, or support levels. See if there's any gaps. Give yourself the time you need. If this is you're switching over to a stock that you were watching pre-market and you already have a game plan, that's different. But if you switch off of something that you're looking at, that you are focusing on pre-market, like I was on the SPY and the TVIX, and then you're focusing on off the bell, you're not paying much attention to something else, and that game plan doesn't work out, you can't just switch over to something that you see someone talk about on Twitter, someone's talking about in chat, or it's on your top gainer list, and just right away pull the trigger. Give yourself the time you need to analyze the setup and develop a game plan, formulate your risk-reward ratio on the trade, and make a decision. Give yourself the time you need. That's exactly what I did when I realized this SPY trade just wasn't working out. But I didn't just rush to buy, a small cap that was lighting up the board. That can cause you to buy tops, because had you been looking at that exact same stock off the open and that was actually your main focus, you're probably taking profit up into that area, rather than you getting long it, maybe because you pulled it up. You're like, oh, wow, the stock just broke through the high of the day. It's increasing volume. I'm going to buy it here. But had you taken the time to properly analyze the trade, you could have saw maybe we're coming up on a major resistance level on the daily. Maybe the 200-day moving average is also sitting at that same level. Maybe that's also a gap fill. And you could have been like, ooh, you know what? Maybe I should be careful up here. We might not have a lot more room to the upside. There could be some resistance. If I was already long, I would be taking profit here, so I probably shouldn't be getting long if you took the time to properly analyze the setup. Okay, so what I did when I realized that the SPY trade wasn't working out, I just, I went through the rest of my watch list, and YETI was on my watch list pre-market. YETI had a big gap up here. We were gapping up right below the all-time high. We gapped above this $19 resistance area, and it looked like we were going to start to make a push. We sold off the bell, but we put in a nice double bottom. Okay, here's a nice little double bottom on YETI. Okay, we shot right back up through VWAP, and I noticed, okay, VWAP previously showed us that it was an area of resistance in the morning. Now we shot above it, and we started to consolidate. We put in a nice little flag pattern, okay, right above VWAP, And I said to myself, I'm going to get long inside this little consolidation flag. And on this candle right here, I got long at 21.02. I'll take it to my trade announcements on the day. Let me zoom in so you can see it more clearly. Long YETI, 21.02, just before 10:30 a.m. Okay. Stop loss around the 2065 area, which is just below VWAP. So my stop loss just below this orange line on my screen, and there's my entry point. I was looking for a trade line VWAP crossover to push the stock up through the high of the day, and that's exactly what we got. Here is your trade line VWAP crossover, and that ignited a move up through the high of the day. I took some profit off right here in front of the high of the day, or at the high of the day, and then the bulk of my position I took off right up here as we popped through $22. I'll take it back to my trade announcements here. You guys can see I took some off 21.60, took the bulk of my position off at 22.02 for exactly $1 a share, and then I sold out the last piece I was holding, basically break even at 21.01. Okay, so it was a nice little trade. It was very stress-free. I was never really nervous on the trade. I was never really down on the trade. I think it got down to like 20.97 or something, and I was long from 21.02. So it was a nice stress-free trade, but that's not really what this video is about. It's not necessarily the YETI trade. It's more so, going over with you the importance of taking your time when you have to shift your focus in the middle of the day. Okay, just because you're looking at something and you have a game plan with something and that game plan doesn't work out, doesn't mean that you are done for the day. Okay, but it also doesn't mean that you just jump right into something that you didn't take the time to properly plan for. When you're going through your pre-market game plan, you're taking a half hour, an hour, sometimes longer to develop that game plan and analyze a setup. So why would you in the middle of the day just take 30 seconds? If you're looking at it for the very first time, take the time you need. Look at the daily chart. Look at the 15-minute. Look at the 5-minute. Look at the intraday 3-minute. Draw out your Fibonacci's. Check out the volume on the day. Where's your trade line? Where's VWAP? Where's all your major moving averages on the daily? Is there a gap? Where's support? Where's resistance? Look at the last 1 to 2 weeks. Look at the last, several months on the daily. See what the setup looks like. Take all that information in, analyze it all like you know how to, and that we've been going over, and that I've taught you guys to, and all the different setups that we look for, and develop your game plan. Then decide if you're going to pull the trigger. And these little things I like to talk about with you because it's the mental lessons that people don't talk about, but 80% of trading is mental. You've probably heard that from people other than myself, and it's true, but nobody talks about it. And these are the little mental things that I go over with all of our members in True Trading Group every day, every month. We talk about this kind of stuff because this is the stuff that can really make a difference in your trading, can make a difference in your P&L, can really make a difference in your overall development as a trader. But these are the things that people don't talk about. Okay, and that's why I wanted to take some time with this video to talk about this to make sure that you guys understand the importance of time and the importance of taking your time and analyzing a stock properly and developing a proper game plan before you pull the trigger. Okay, and that's it. So happy Valentine's Day. I'm out of here. I will see you guys in chat tomorrow. Take care.